Okay, so in practice, their claim will prove to be faulty as an accelerated pathway to citizenship will fail to benefit immigrants who meet a certain skill set requirement and current U.S. citizens. So an accelerated pathway to citizenship for immigrants that are highly skilled will leave them with a high chance of working a low-skilled job in the U.S. Despite the fact that some immigrants may be highly skilled, that does not ensure them of receiving a job in the U.S., which will match their skill set. There are times when highly skilled immigrants come to the States with a college degree or higher, but find out that their skill set is unable to be usefully transferred to the U.S. labor market, and many end up having jobs which they are overqualified for. Among immigrants with a college degree, 20% have a low-skill occupation compared to 7% of natives in the U.S. Nearly 30% of Mexican immigrants with a college degree have a low-skill occupation, as do 35% of Central American immigrants, despite having high skill set requirements met. This is not a problem stemming from race or nationality, for it comes from the fact that simply obtaining a degree or having the skills to do a job does not secure one a job, as many American citizens actually struggle to find a job upon receiving a college degree. A Forbes article from 2018 states the economy is largely controlled by companies. They have money and jobs. They decide whether or not to hire you. If these companies don't need your skills, then you're out of luck. This is the case for both native-born workers and foreign-born workers alike. Furthermore, high-skilled immigrants that are able to obtain jobs that match their skill sets are oftentimes used to undercut American workers in pay. This often occurs in fields such as the tech industry and science. When technology firms hire foreign-born workers, they usually pay them less than a native-born American in that same job, which is obviously unfair, but it is the case. This then leads to both lower pay for workers across the company and higher profits for owners and investors. Therefore, wages are reduced while profits are increased. A paper from UCSD shows that during the internet boom from 1994 to 2001, tech companies took in many more highly skilled foreign-born workers. The results show that the availability of cheaper labor hurt native-born engineers. In the absence of immigration, wages for U.S. computer scientists would have been 2.6% to 5.1% higher, and employment in the computer science field for U.S. workers would have been 6.1% to 10.8% higher in 2001. Nextly, some disadvantages of an accelerated pathway to citizenship is that it will take jobs away from American citizens. So there's a stereotype that says that immigrants will usually do the jobs that most Americans don't want to do. However, there is no job that American citizens won't do. According to the American Community Survey, there are just 24 occupations out of 474 in which illegal immigrants comprise at least 15% of workers. This also applies to legal. There are 5.7 million natives in these high immigrant occupations, 67% of whom have no education beyond high school. But in occupations that are made up of 5% or less illegal immigrants, 75.5% of natives have education beyond high school. If this was the case, one would be able to pinpoint specific occupations comprised of nearly all workers that are foreign-born. However, this cannot be done. Out of the 474 separate occupations defined by the Department of Commerce, there are only a handful of occupations that are made up of majority immigrants. Yet none are completely dominated by them, both legal and illegal, showing that native foreign workers partake in every job field. For example, many occupations that are stereotypically viewed to be occupations held by immigrants are in fact majority held by native-born Americans. Maids and housekeepers are 51% native-born. Construction laborers are 65% native, and janitors are 73% native-born. So,
You have 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
okay. And then nextly, an influx of immigration will reduce job prospects for current American citizens that do not possess a college degree. This is especially true in fields such as construction and agriculture, so I'm building off of the point that I just made, where the majority of native-born citizens working in it do not hold education past high school. According to the PEW Center of Research, in building and ground maintenance, 35% of jobs were taken by immigrants. 19% were documented in construction. 27% of the jobs went to immigrants, and 12% were documented. Oftentimes, it is hard to realize, as people who are in college, that there are many people living in the U.S. without college degrees. The U.S. Census Bureau reported that as of 2017, only 33.4% of Americans 25 or older said that they had completed a bachelor's degree or higher. Furthermore, the USDA reported that there are 15.6 million households that had difficulty providing enough food for all of their families due to the lack of resources. And CNBC reported that 78% of American workers as of January 2019 were living paycheck to paycheck, therefore showing that before we address issues on immigration, we should be addressing issues with citizens that are currently living in the U.S. Lastly, overpopulation within the U.S. will occur if an accelerated pathway to citizenship is put in place. The population of the United States is consistently and rapidly increasing. Schools, government systems, and other public services are greatly overburdened as it is. The more people that enter our country, the worse the quality of these systems become. From the world population balance, the U.S. population at the beginning of 2019 was over 328 million. The U.S. population is growing up by over 2 million people per year. That's 240 per hour, and half from new births and half from immigration. According to Global Footprint Network data, the U.S. can sustain a population of only 150 million at a reduced consumption level similar to Europeans. Barris.org states the predominant role of immigration is causing the U.S. population growth which means that Congress can effectively stabilize the population through a change in immigration policy. Unsustainable growth stems from two policy decisions in Washington: the increase in immigration quotas to record levels since 1965 and the ineffective enforcement of laws designed to deter illegal immigration. The U.S. accepts far more legal immigrants as a percent of our population than do the nations of Europe. As a result, the U.S. population is booming at about 1% per year, while European populations are stable.